Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jeremiah Jensen, KSL 5 Television, where you can find JJ on a day like today when you have the breaking news that BYU put out on all their socials that Tom Holmoe is indeed going to ride off into the sunset of retirement. And we knew that this day was going to be coming at one point. We'd heard rumblings even kind of a long time ago where it was like, yeah, the groundwork has been set, and he doesn't want to do this forever. You know, at some point you get into your mid-60s. I think it was kind of one of the things that he had sort of said to us, and he's like, and you don't necessarily want to have to keep running an athletic program on that day-to-day basis. But joining us on the program right now, Dick Harmon, columnist for the Deseret News, somebody who's covered BYU and sports in this market for, Dick, don't make me do this. It's more than 4 decades now at this point, right?
Yeah, it's about 40. It's about as long as Tom Holmoe's been at BYU as a student athlete back in 1977.
That's what we were just saying. We were like, unfortunately, Dick is going to have to come on and give us the perspective of covering him as a player, and then coming on and talking about his retirement as the athletic director. What a wild ride! We were talking about how his legacy. There are two things, right? There's the legacy part that he leaves, and then there's the part of how to replace that type of legacy. So first, the things that he has done, what's been the most impressive thing that you've watched over the years of covering Tom Holmoe?
Well, I remember the first time that I ever talked to him was on the phone when he signed a letter of intent in February of 78.
Wow.
I called him on the phone. I was at the Daily Universe at the time, sports editor there covering BYU. And I remember talking to him about, why he made a decision to come to BYU. And then, it was either that year or the second year as a sophomore when I was in a van with him. We used to do the Big Five huddle, and we used to go up to Salt Lake and meet in a restaurant, and all the coaches would talk, and there would be players there. And I remember riding up in that van with Tom and talking to him, and that was the first time I really got to know him. Kind, nice, affable, just a really good feeling about being around him, a very positive guy. And the thing about it is he's never changed. He's the same guy that I saw in that van when he was an 18-year-old kid, and I was probably 24, 22, I don't know. But anyway, he's just the same guy. That's been amazing. But what stands out to me is I don't know that there's been anyone that's been an athletic director at BYU longer than him. Not Glenn Tuckett, not anybody. And then to be able to, have to take him from the Mountain West Conference into independence and then do all that scheduling stuff and then usher in the other big milestone of getting in the Big 12. I mean, those three things right there are amazing. But then look at all the people he hired. He hired Dave Rose, I think, when Dave Cleveland stepped down, and then Mark Pope, and now Kevin Young. And then he was instrumental in hiring Bronco Mendenhall, as I believe he was just coming on board about that time, the same time.
Acting,
so
sports,
Bronco, and then Kalani, and then both those guys have gone 18 years. So he's been able to keep those coaches, keep them happy, keep the hounds away from them for 18 years, these two guys. So, and then the second year in the Big 12, I could see how he maybe targeted this to step down. But those are the milestones I remember, is that just how much he's done. And then maybe the third thing is, where's the big scandal? Where's all the big headlines? The only one I can really think of that hit was that Duke volleyball player that came up with a fantasy line about racial slurs, and he had to handle that, and it was kind of a mess. Other than that, he's fired people. He's let people go. He's done it with dignity and class and behind the scenes, and he just operated as a smooth guy.
You look at his past, and you've covered his entire spectrum of his career, as you've just mentioned, from being a player to being a player in the NFL, a Super Bowl champion, to making the transition to coaching. And, coaching didn't go well for him at Cal, and then all of a sudden he takes his turn at BYU as an athletic director. What are some of the qualities that he developed, and what are some of the things you observed about him that made him a good athletic director? Because that wasn't his initial path and his initial desire.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy with 4 Super Bowl rings, 3 as a player and 1 as a coach. Mm-hmm. But Tom is just he seems mild-mannered, but man, he's a competitor. He really likes to compete. He doesn't like to lose. You don't get at that level playing in the secondary of the 49ers unless you really have it, tuned in and you can get it cranked in and find a gear. And I think that's the way that he was as an athletic director, is he'd go after things. I think the failure at Cal Berkeley really kind of helped him transition BYU into the Big 12. The reason why, a conservative, religious-backed university trying to get in to a Big 12 power conference led by a lot of academics with a lot of liberal leanings where conservative views are sometimes not accepted. And that, I think his experience at Cal Berkeley, which is probably the the hotbed of liberalism, enabled him to talk the language and to understand the people and what their feelings are and their concerns when he went and talked to Big 12 presidents and athletic directors and how to present BYU's case and what BYU's about, and to do it in a way that it would nest and be accepted. And he's the great transition athletic director because he could speak a lot of different languages, have been a convert to the LDS faith, came to BYU as a non-Mormon, then converted. He knows how to talk the talk of those that are not familiar with the church or have certain concepts or misconceptions. So he understood the whole volume of the thing. There probably wasn't a guy made for the role that he needed to do to get BYU in the Big 12 as he was, because the way he could come off to people, the way he could talk to them. He understood the cocktail bunch. The guys that, he understood that, but he also knew the vows that he had to keep, and he could speak the language.
Dick Harmon joining us here. Of course, so you can find his column, Deseret News. He still is pumping out so much of this when it comes to covering BYU and understanding what the vibe is down there in Provo. And certainly the change that happens with the athletic director, one who's had such a big impact like Tom Holmoe down there, how on earth do you take over a program and a BYU athletic department that is already so hard to manage when it comes to the church side of it on top of the athletic side and staying up on top of things, and it seems like they've been doing it very, very well so far. How, and I won't ask you to put a short list together because, there are all the names that are floating out there, but what type of a person needs to get hired as the athletic department moves into this next role?
Well, I think it'd be important for them to have an athletic background, probably as a player and as an athlete, so they could understand that aspect of it. Probably had worked in administration before. Probably deep BYU ties. Probably should be a good businessman or a lawyer. Probably has to understand those kind of things, that they're detailed in spreadsheets and legal battles and the hiring and firing of people. And I think the next person has got really a good platform to build on. I mean, BYU's in the red, in the black. They've never been in the red. Financially, you've got a lot of money coming in for the Big 12. You've got to be able to – in fact, you're going to have a lot more money than Tom Holmoe ever did in any day that he ever worked at BYU. That new person's going to have that purse. They're going to be able to be in a real good position with NIL, somebody that understands that. So there's a broad base of requirements that this next person is going to have to do and to step up. And, there may be a hire from within. Certainly there's some qualified people and some names of people that have paid their dues and are probably waiting in the wings. BYU's probably always in a position, I think, where they kind of know what direction they're going before they do it.
Dick Harmon, no better perspective than all the years of someone like Dick to be able to give you exactly what is this means that Tom Holmoe moves on into retirement and then the new phase of BYU athletics goes on afterward. Dick, we appreciate you taking some time out today, man.
Hey, thanks a lot, Alex and JJ. See you later. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Dick Harmon.